This is Meet Sean, where we break down real life topics insurance, annuities, real estate, travel planning, and home ownership so you can make smarter moves. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.
Here is a statistic from the source material that might make your palms sweat a little.
Uh-oh.
In certain high-demand real estate markets, over 50% of homes are currently selling above the asking price.
Wow.
Not at the asking price, above it.
That's a staggering number. It effectively means that the price tag you see on, Zillow is often just a suggestion. It's a starting line, not a finish line.
Which creates this immediate sense of panic for a buyer.
Yeah.
Right? You find the perfect house, the kitchen is great, the backyard is ready for the dog, you see the crowd at the open house, and you think, okay, the only way I win this is to just empty the bank account.
Right. I just have to throw money at the problem until they say yes.
Exactly.
That is the classic knee-jerk reaction. And honestly, it is exactly where most people get it wrong. The whole mission of this deep dive is to debunk that myth that the person with the biggest checkbook always wins the bidding war.
Because the research we're covering today, which focuses on expert offer strategies, suggests that winning is actually less about brute financial force and more about having a better blueprint.
Exactly. We're calling it the perfect offer blueprint. We are going to look at the mechanics of winning. And it's a mix of hard data things like absorption rates and psychological tactics like escalation clauses and rent-back agreements.
It sounds less like buying a house and more like planning a heist.
In a competitive market, the difference between the two is smaller than you might think. You're trying to secure a prized asset against active opposition. You need a strategy, not just a wish.
So let's start where the research suggests every buyer should start. Reading the terrain. The source material talks about moving beyond the listing price and understanding the absorption rate. It sounds like something out of a physics textbook. What's it doing in real estate?
It does sound technical, I know, but it is actually the most fundamental metric for understanding the power dynamics in a neighborhood. The absorption rate essentially measures the speed of the market. It answers the question, if no new houses came on the market today, how long would it take to sell everything that's currently listed?
Okay, so how does a buyer actually use that? Is there like a magic number we're looking for?
Think of it like a bathtub. The water coming in represents new listings. The drain represents sales. If the water is draining faster than it's coming in, the tub empties quickly. That's a high absorption rate.
Okay.
If homes are selling in less than 3 months, statistically, that is a seller's market.
Meaning the seller hold all the cards.
Right. Inventory is scarce. But if the tub is overflowing, if there are 6 months or more of inventory just sitting there, it's a buyer's market. Prices soften, negotiations open up.
So before I even write an offer, I need to know if the tub is draining or overflowing.
Yeah.
Because that dictates my speed.
Precisely. It dictates your aggression. And the source material links this to 2 other key indicators: average days on market and the sale-to-list price ratio.
Let's break those down.
Days on market is your stopwatch. If the average home in the neighborhood goes under contract in 4 days, you do not have the luxury of, sleeping on it over the weekend.
You have to be ready to strike immediately.
Immediately. And the sale-to-list price ratio tells you the premium. If homes are selling at 105% of the list price, you know that offering the asking price is actually offering a discount.
That is a crucial mindset shift. If the data says the market is trading at 105, offering 100% isn't fair. It's fair. It's an automatic rejection letter.
It is reading the room before you even walk in. If you ignore the absorption rate and the days on market data, you're just flying blind. You might be writing cautious offers in a market that demands aggression or overpaying in a market that's actually cooling down.
So once we've analyzed the battlefield and we know we need to be aggressive, we have to construct the offer itself. The source material describes the anatomy of an offer as tension between 2 things: price and conditions.
This is where the nuance comes in. Everyone obsesses over price. And yes, sellers want money. But what the research highlights is that sellers are often equally motivated by certainty. They are terrified of the deal falling apart.
So an offer that's messy or complicated has a lower value, even if the dollar amount is high.
Correct. This is what we call seller psychology. A seller might take $5,000 less if the offer looks rock solid and is virtually guaranteed to close. They are buying peace of mind.
Let's look at the components that create that peace of mind. The sources highlight earnest money. This is the deposit, right?
It is the skin in the game. It's the cash you put into escrow the moment the offer is accepted. In many markets, 1% of the purchase price is standard. But if you want to signal strength, put down 3% or 5%.
But why does that matter if the total price is the same in the end?
Because it signals liquidity. It tells the seller, I have cash on hand and I'm so confident in this transaction that I'm willing to lock up a significant chunk of money right now in a stack of 10 offers, the one with the fat earnest money check. It just stands out visually.
It screams serious intent. Now, what about the closing timeline? The sources mention this as a zero-cost leverage point.
This is the easiest win in the book. Most buyers just fill in the standard 30 days or 45 days on the contract. But the smart move is to have your agent call the listing agent and simply ask.
When does the seller want to move?
Exactly. It seems so obvious, but I assume most people just forget to ask.
All the time.
Maybe the seller has a new job starting in 2 weeks and needs to sprint. Maybe they're building a house that won't be done for 3 months and they need to linger. If you match their date, you just solved a huge logistical headache for them without spending a dime.
That brings us to the pre-approval. I feel like this is standard advice, but the source emphasizes it as, like, non-negotiable.
It is the ticket to entry, but not all pre-approvals are created equal. A letter that says pre-qualified is flimsy. It just means you told a bank how much money you make.
Right.
A pre-approval means they have checked your credit and tax returns. But a fully underwritten pre-approval, that's gold. That means the bank has already done the heavy lifting. You are essentially a cash buyer who just needs to wait for the wire transfer.
Okay, so we have strong earnest money, a tailored timeline, and a bulletproof pre-approval. Now we have to talk about the scary part. Contingencies.
The exit ramps.
Right. These are the clauses that say, I will buy this house, BUT, but only if I get a loan, but only if the roof isn't leaking.
And sellers hate the word but.
Naturally. But as a buyer, you need protection. You don't want to buy a money pit. The source material outlines the big three: financing, inspection, and appraisal. So how do we balance safety with competitiveness?
It's a game of calculated risk. In a hyper-competitive market, you will see buyers waiving these contingencies entirely. That is incredibly risky.
Waiving an inspection seems like playing Russian roulette with your savings. I mean, what if the foundation is cracked?
It can be catastrophic. A middle ground strategy the sources suggest is tightening the timelines. Instead of asking for a 14-day inspection period, can you do it in 5 days?
Okay.
Or, even better, can you bring an inspector with you to the showing?
Oh, it's interesting. So you do a pre-inspection before you even offer?
Exactly. It costs you a few $100s up front, which is a risk if you don't get the house, but then you can write an offer that says inspection waived because you already know the condition. You get the safety of the inspection and the competitiveness of a clean offer.
That is a pro tip. What about the financing contingency? Waiving that sounds like you could lose your deposit if the bank says no.
You absolutely could. That is why you only waive financing if you have that fully underwritten approval we talked about and you are 100% certain of your job security.
Got it.
If there is any doubt, you keep the contingency. It is better to lose the house than to lose your deposit and get sued.
So consult your agent. Know your risk tolerance. Don't just waive things because you're desperate.
Exactly. Desperation leads to bad contracts.
Let's move to the offensive strategies. The source material gets really tactical here with something called an escalation clause. This sounds like a tool for a bidding war.
It is the single most powerful tool for a multiple offer scenario. Think of it as an automated bidding robot.
Okay, walk us through the math. How does it work in practice?
Okay, so let's say a house is listed at $290,000. You love it. You are willing to pay $310,000, but you really don't want to pay that much if you don't have to.
Right. If the next best offer is only $295,000, you'd be overpaying by $15,000.
Exactly. I want to beat the other guy, but only by $1.
Or a couple thousand.
So you write your offer at a baseline of, say, $300,000, but you attach an escalation clause that says, I will pay $2,000 more than any other bona fide competing offer up to a maximum cap of $300,000 to $10,000.
Okay, so if someone comes in at $305,000.
Your robot kicks in. Your offer automatically jumps to $307,000. You beat them by $2,000 and stay in the lead without having to pick up the phone.
That sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
But there has to be a catch. What's the downside?
The downside is revealing your hand. By setting that cap at $310,000, you're basically telling the seller, hey, I am willing to pay $310,000.
So if there aren't any other bidders, you just showed them your max budget for no reason.
Well, the clause only triggers if there is a competing offer. But a savvy listing agent might see your cap and just counteroffer you at that price anyway, just to see if you'll bite. They know you have the money now.
So you should only use this when you know there's competition.
Correct. If it's been on the market for 30 days, do not use an escalation clause. Just make an offer. This is a weapon for a hot market.
And the cap seems critical. The source emphasizes that you have to pick a number you're comfortable with, not just a number to win.
The cap is your no regrets number. It is the price where, if someone else buys it for $1 more, you are happy for them because that was too expensive for you. If you don't set a cap, you're writing a blank check.
Got it. Now let's pivot from the aggressive math to something a bit softer, the empathy play. The sources discuss rent-back agreements.
This is my favorite strategy because it solves a human problem, not a financial one.
Okay, set the scene for us. Why does a seller need this?
It's the classic chicken and egg problem. Most people need to sell their current house to unlock the equity to buy their next house.
Right.
But they can't buy the next house until the money is in the bank. So there's this homeless gap between closing on the old house and moving into the new one.
Moving is stressful enough without having to move into a hotel or a storage unit for 3 weeks.
Exactly. It is a nightmare. A rent-back agreement solves this. You, the buyer, close on the house. You own it. But you sign a contract allowing the seller to stay in the house for 30 or 60 days, essentially renting it back from you.
So you become their landlord.
For a short time, yes.
How much of an advantage is this, really?
It is huge. If I'm a seller and offer A is $5,000 higher but kicks me out immediately, and offer B is a little lower but gives me 2 months to leisurely move, I am taking offer B every single time. You're buying them time, and time is a luxury.
But this opens up a can of worms for the buyer, doesn't it? I mean, what if they refuse to leave? What if they trash the place?
That is the risk. Source material is very clear. This cannot be a handshake deal. It needs to be a legal lease.
So what needs to be in that lease?
A strictly defined duration. Daily penalties if they stay past the date, and heavy penalties, like $500 a day, to motivate them to leave. You also need to address liability.
Who pays if the water heater bursts?
Right. Usually the new owner maintains the structure, but the seller, now the tenant, needs renter's insurance for their stuff.
And a security deposit.
Absolutely. You hold back some of the proceeds in escrow until they move out, and you can verify the house is in good condition.
So trust but verify.
Always. It's an empathy play backed by a solid contract.
Let's move to perhaps the biggest hurdle mentioned in the source material, the appraisal gap. This feels like the boss battle at the end of the game.
It causes more anxiety than anything else. So the appraisal gap happens when you win the bidding war, maybe you offered $350, but the bank's appraiser goes out and says, sorry, the data says this house is only worth $340,000.
And the bank isn't going to lend you money for value that doesn't exist on paper.
Correct. They lend on the appraised value. So now you have a $10,000 hole in your financing. The deal is effectively dead unless you can fix it.
The sources outline 3 ways to fix this. Let's walk through them. Option 1 is renegotiate.
Do you go to the seller and say, hey, the house isn't worth what we thought. Please lower the price to $340.
I imagine in a hot market, the seller just laughs.
Pretty much. If they have 3 backup offers, they will just say no. They know someone else might cover it. So this strategy works in a cool market, but rarely in a bidding war.
Which leads to option 2, cash coverage.
This is the brute force method. The buyer just agrees to pay the $10,000 difference out of pocket. You bring that extra cash to the closing table on top of your down payment.
That is painful. That is real money just evaporating.
It is. But if you really want the house and you have the liquidity, it's the surest way to save the deal. In fact, many winning offers include an appraisal gap coverage clause right at the start, promising to cover the gap up to a certain amount. It removes that fear for the seller.
And option 3, challenging the appraisal.
This is the Hail Mary. You or your agent try to prove the appraiser was wrong.
How often does that actually work?
It's difficult. You can't just say, I think it's worth more. You have to provide data. You need to find comps, comparable sales that the appraiser missed, or you need to find factual errors. Hey, you listed this as a 3-bedroom, but it's a 4-bedroom.
Or you miss the fact that the basement is finished.
Exactly. So you're essentially appealing the referee's call.
And like in sports, the referee rarely changes their mind unless the evidence is overwhelming.
Yes. And this highlights the importance of having a skilled agent. The source material calls them an advocate. This isn't just about unlocking doors. It is about arguing value.
Absolutely. In the appraisal challenge, your agent is basically building a legal case for the value of the home.
That concept of advocacy bridges us to the final section of our blueprint, the human element. We've talked about math, clauses, contracts, but the source places a massive emphasis on claim communication.
It sounds so soft, doesn't it?
Ahem.
But in a high-stakes transaction involving hundreds of thousands of dollars, silence is terrifying.
Oh, it is. If I'm a seller and the buyer's agent goes ghost for 3 days, I'm assuming the buyer's backing out.
Panic sets in.
Absolutely. Clean communication, just responding quickly, being transparent about where the financing stands. It creates a smooth transaction vibe. Sellers love that. They want to feel like the closing will be boring and predictable. Drama is the enemy of real estate closings.
The source also details a specific type of advocacy regarding the loan type. This was really interesting to me, the idea that the type of loan you have kind of acts as a brand for you as a buyer.
This is a nuance that so many buyers miss. Not all money looks the same to a seller.
Okay, can you break down the hierarchy? We have conventional, FHA, and VA loans.
Right. So a conventional loan is often viewed as the gold standard by sellers. It usually implies a higher credit score and a significant down payment. It just signals stability,
So if a seller sees conventional, they assume the financing is safe.
pretty much. Then you have FHA loans. These are government-backed loans designed to help people with lower credit scores or smaller down payments. They are fantastic programs, but to a seller, they sometimes carry a stigma.
What's the fear there?
Two things. One, the seller might worry the buyer is less financially stable. Two, FHA appraisals are stricter on safety issues. Peeling paint, a loose handrail things a conventional appraiser might ignore, an FHA appraiser will flag and require them to be fixed before closing.
So the seller sees FHA and thinks, great, I'm going to have to do repairs.
Exactly. And then there are VA loans for veterans. These allow for a 0% down payment.
Which is an amazing benefit for the veteran.
It is. It's well earned. But an uneducated seller sees 0% down and just thinks, this buyer has no money. Or they worry about the VA funding fee, or, again, strict appraisals.
So if you're a buyer using an FHA or VA loan, are you just at a disadvantage?
You're at a perceived disadvantage. This is where the agent's advocacy is so critical. A good agent doesn't just email the offer, they call the listing agent. They say, look, my client is using a VA loan because they earned that benefit, not because they're broke. They have excellent credit, solid assets, and here's why this loan is rock solid.
They have to market the buyer to the seller.
Precisely. They have to spin the narrative to overcome the bias. If they don't, that offer might get tossed in the reject pile simply due to a misunderstanding.
So bringing this all together, we've gone from calculating absorption rates to writing escalation clauses to, managing the emotional state of the seller.
It is a lot, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, the perfect offer isn't one single thing. It's a recipe.
You can't just be good at the math, and you can't just be a nice person.
You have to be both. You need the hard data, knowing the absorption rate, to know when to strike. You need the tactical tools, like the escalation clause, to win the price war without overpaying. But you also need the soft skills, the rent-back agreement for empathy, and the clean communication for trust.
It seems so holistic. You're effectively managing the seller's anxiety as much as you're managing your own budget.
That is the key takeaway. In a transaction this large, the most valuable currency isn't always the dollar. It is trust. The seller needs to trust that you are the one who will actually make it to the finish line. Every single strategy we discussed today, from the large earnest money deposit to the pre-approval to the rent back, is essentially a way of manufacturing trust.
That is a powerful way to look at it.
Yeah.
You are buying a house, but you are selling peace of mind.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, there you have it. The blueprint is in your hands. Now it's time for you to go out there, read the battlefield, and win that bidding war. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Happy house hunting!
That's it for today's Meet Sean. If this helped, follow the show and share this episode with one person who needs it. See you next time.